Good afternoon. I'm really happy to welcome you all to this event, which is a youth workshop which is being hosted by the SALISES, the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies, and it's part of our outreach activities geared towards integrating youth into the deliberations we will hold over the period of April 25th to April 27th on our conference themed Sustainable Futures for the Caribbean, Critical Interventions and the 2030 Agenda. So the idea behind this youth workshop is that what we're trying to do, if we're looking at towards our attentions, if our attention is focused on the future, then we need to look at the next generation. We need to look at the youth. We need to be able to hear what their idea of the future is like and whether or not they think the goals that are articulated by the United Nations, the Sustainable Development Agenda, are relevant to them and to what extent do they overlap with their own interests. So today we've gathered a diverse section of youth who will together brainstorm some of the issues of sustainable futures, looking at themselves, looking at Jamaica, looking at their communities, identify some of the obstacles and some of the challenges that they face, but also articulate what they think are viable pathways forward. So that what we hope will come out of this intervention is gathering knowledge from different constituencies who are not normally included in this big agenda concerned with envisioning development futures. So we would like to have a bottom-up process, and so this becomes a very important element in that outreach. So we're hoping that the conference will be very well attended, and we have over the 3 days. The first day is going to be looking at foresight and integration dynamics, so looking at some of the challenges involved in regional integration processes, but also thinking about issues in terms of communities. To what extent are communities pulling together to find common solutions to common problems or not? So we're looking at issues related to crime and violence, we're looking at issues of migration, we're looking at issues related to participatory development and sustainable development at the local governmental level on day one. We'll have at the end of day one a public forum looking at transforming futures at risk, violence, death and climate change catastrophes, which will allow us to bring in the community from around the area in Montego Bay where the event will be hosted to speak to some of these challenges that we face, guided by some of the experts that we will bring into conversation for that event. On the following day, we'll have the theme, Leave No One Behind, which is part of the principles of sustainable development. And we'll have a focus on issues related to inclusion, inclusionary development. And our keynote speaker, Sir Arthur Lewis Distinguished Lecturer, Professor Melissa Leach from the Institute of Development Studies, would look at the issues of finding transformational pathways to just and sustainable futures, which will be one of the highlights of the event in the evening. And on the last day, we'll be focused on smart growth. And we'll open with a sustainable tourism plenary and a keynote speech by the Honorable Edmund Bartlett looking at resilience in the tourism sector. Certainly, in the context of a small island state, we have a lot of challenges with respect to climate change and climate change catastrophes, as the events of Irma and Maria highlighted last year, in November. So we need to build resilience. We need to build resilience bottom up. So it has to be inclusive. It needs to be focused on the small man, the small business person. It needs to include youth. It needs to include diverse constituency, including the aged. So we hope through this youth workshop and through the conference to bring to bear some of these issues by having multiple voices involved. Out of this conference, we'll have a post-workshop consultation in which we'll basically rehash and say, well, what have we really achieved? What are we trying to bring about as a result of this intervention? And get the youth engaged in thinking about the takeaways from their involvement in a broader project looking at sustainable development. And hopefully in that post-conference workshop, we'll be able to brainstorm ideas for grants which can be used to foster youth development and to bring in those who are often marginalized in society and communities, bring them to the center of our discussion. As the theme of our workshop today is called Reset the Thing, FiwiFuture. And it's about Agenda 2030 and having knowledge emerge from the margins. So I think it's overall a wonderful package of activities that will help us to take the steps we need to move forward to achieve the sustainable development and the future that we want. It is FiwiFuture, and we need to take ownership over that. And this is one way in which we hope the university, in celebrating its 70th anniversary, will be able to support this. And with the support of our partners, Jamaica National Group, the United Nations Development Program, the National Integrity Action Jamaica, USAID, as well as Fiwi Jamaica project led by Professor Rosalie Hamilton, that we'll be able to achieve our goals together.
My name is Kevin Martin. I'm the Executive Director for Equality Youth JA, a youth organization that focuses on social justice advocacy, especially for LGBT youth. What I've gotten from today is that it is really an interesting forum for young persons to discuss development plans. I think it's needed and I think it's necessary. However, what I'm looking forward to is for these ideas to be communicated to policymakers, for those decisions that need to be taken, that they are taken, and that young people's voices are listened to in a broader sense. And that's really what I hope to gain from it today and what I look forward to seeing going forward into the conference.
Hi, my name is Anastasia Watson, President-elect of the Integrity Action Movement. Now, today at the workshop put on by SALISES, it has really provided young people with a platform for them to voice their opinions and to play an integral role in securing a future which was meant for them. Now, I'm really intrigued and really fascinated, and I'm looking forward to some of the outcomes from today's workshop, and we're even looking forward to the conference next week to see how young people can further the dialogue on securing future where, you know, we can work, raise families, and do business in a peaceful Jamaica. And yeah.
So hi everyone, my name is Shante Hunt. I'm a Janeway representative for the University of Technology. We're here today at UWI-Mona. We have been at a youth discussion based on sustainable development. These youth you see behind me, they're very passionate about this discussion today, discussing what they would like to see for future Jamaica. So we hope that this discussion will not just stop here, but these future plans that we have will be beneficial to Jamaica and spread across the nation. Thank you.